Perfect. Welcome everyone to the Wednesday night Oasis. My name is Reverend Sally Bartholomew, and I will be your host this evening. And it is set up to be a wonderful evening. This year's annual theme is Living Out Loud. And the monthly theme for July is Speaking Truth to Circumstance. Now, normally our Wednesday night follows the talk of Sunday, and we had a little bit different talk on Sunday. Last Sunday, Wayne Clark introduced ideas inspired by his own spiritual journey. And I would say that he was absolutely speaking truth to circumstance. So if you have not seen the video, navigate yourself to YouTube so that you can see it. Now, tonight, our speaker will introduce ideas inspired by the talk title, Standing on Shiva. And if you joined us for the meditation this evening, we took a little story, a Hindu story, into meditation. So what is Wednesday Night Oasis? Well, it's a place, it's a space where we come together as a community to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays. Our intention for these evenings is to be informal, to be intimate, to be interactive. So be ready to share your questions, your comments, and the ways that you resonate with the material that the speaker is sharing this evening. Now, if any of you are new to the center or new to this service, welcome. We are glad that you are here. And you may have already been to the website because you got to the Zoom meeting, but I invite you to navigate back to that website, www.oaklandcsl.org. And when you do, if you haven't already, click on the I'm New icon. And when you get to that, give us your email. Let us communicate with you through the Village newsletter, which you'll receive once a week in your email. And it has all the information about what's happening at the center in the coming weeks. So before we get started this evening, I invite you to mute your audio microphone. This helps with our recording of this session. You're welcome to leave your video cameras on if you'd like, but you're also welcome to turn those off as well. Now, if you don't mute your audio during the talk, the tech team will do it for you. So I invite you to stay tuned until the end of the service for our special and important announcements. Now, as we do with every evening that we come together, we start off in prayer. And this evening, our speaker has invited a dear friend to do the opening invocation for us. So I'd like to introduce one of our tech team specialists, Alice Herndon, to do the opening prayer. Alice?
Thanks, Sally, Reverend Sally. Hi, it's my honor to start this evening's service in prayer. So if you will just join me in taking a big cleansing breath and let it go. Allow yourself just to feel the love, the spirit flowing through you as you, is you. There is only one, and that one is God. One is my life, and it is your life. Oh. I am just so thankful for this evening, to have this time to come together with Practitioner Peggy Cotton, and she will be leading us into just a marvelous, marvelous time. And just to be here, to be present, to be in community. I'd like to just give thanks. And if you would join me in saying, and so it is. Thank you.
So it is. Thank you, Alice. Thank you so much. And so this evening, as Alice mentioned, we do have practitioner Peggy Cotton as our speaker. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Peggy before we get her to speak with us. Peggy is a Bostonian who has made the Bay Area her home for over 40 years. She is a graduate from the San Francisco Art Institute, and she's done graduate work at the University of California, Berkeley as well. Now, she began her religious science journey many years ago at the First Church of Religious Science, which we now know as the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. And when she was here, she was under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Margaret Stortz. Now, Peggy is a licensed practitioner. Woo-woo! We're still celebrating, serving under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Sunshine Michelle Coleman. Now, early on, Peggy volunteered in a psych ward at Boston City Hospital, using art activities with young patients. She does commission oil paintings and teaches adult students from her DBA artwork studio, the Cotton Canvas. Peggy was the first Black woman as the senior administrative manager of Booz Allen and Hamilton, an international management consulting firm. She has worked with actors such as Lawrence Fishburne, Denzel Washington, as a production assistant and assistant producer for KQED TV, public television. And Peggy was an accountant to the chief financial officer at Rosenblum and Rockwall wineries. Please welcome Peggy Cotton.
Thank you, Reverend Sally. That was the wonderful, wonderful opening. Thank you. Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know me yet, my name is Peggy Cotton, and I am a licensed practitioner right here at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. And this is my first time publicly speaking. And yes, I'm a bit nervous.
All right, folks, it looks like we may be having some technical difficulties, so bear with us as we work through the conditions of the moment. All right, let's see. Looks like Peggy may have to go out and come back in. So as we are waiting for Peggy to come back in, I'd like to share with you the story that we shared during the meditation. And this will give you some opportunity to be with a little bit of what Peggy will be speaking towards when she gets back on the call here. So let me find it. Somebody let me know when she's in the room. There
She's
she
here.
is, but she's muted. Okay. Peggy, unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries. The tech gods are giving us the illusions that we get to work through. So
Yes,
all good. Take a breath and go ahead.
all right. So I decided to talk to Mom about this topic because she knows and loves all the mythological gods, from the Greeks to the Romans to the Hindus. And so I said, well, who is Shiva? She said, Shiva is tall, dark, and handsome. He's a powerful warrior who is irresistible to women and revered by men. He is known as the destroyer. He is an extremely important Hindu god, the dancing deity of creation and destruction, a deity so formidable that people must flatter him to avert calamity. He has 4 arms and a 3rd eye on his forehead with which he destroys. I thought, well, why am I standing on a destroyer? Am I to be destroyed because of my actions or my sins? I lived from a different consciousness at that time as a child. So I looked up Shiva online. I learned that, yes, he is the destroyer, all right. And he is within the Trimurti, the Hindu Trinity, which also includes Brahma and Vishnu. Out of the 3 of them, in the Shaivite tradition, Shiva is the supreme Lord who creates, protects, and transforms the universe. Wow, I thought. Shiva is God. Shiva is the one. Shiva is creation. Shiva is oneness. Shiva is truth. Now I was thinking to stand on truth. I thought of science of mind principles. We stand on principle. We stand on oneness. We stand on love. We stand in truth. No matter what happens around us, no matter what circumstances occur. So, I thought some more about my teachings in science of mind, how we learn to recognize that there is only one creative source of all life, and that every living thing is one with that one source, and how that is the truth, which is found at the core of all religions in the world. I remember that when I tried to get into a small local band after high school with my clarinet, I was relieved to know that the reason I didn't make it was not because I wasn't good enough, but it was because they were putting together a boy band. I took a deep breath. That truth made me feel better. That truth set me free. A very interesting way to look at that. So I understood even further that, freedom, that crossed my mind about truth, and standing on truth makes one free. Truth from understanding the world around me, that I don't have to subscribe to some of the circumstances that occur. I don't have to buy into them. I don't have to allow them to influence my thinking. For I know that what I think about, I bring about. So having learned a lot about this philosophy of truth and living from knowing the truth, I questioned, is that enough? When faced with disturbing news reports on the radio, through the media, of our leaders in the country operating from fear. Fear of losing their majority position in society. Fear of their racial and ethnic extinction. Leaders who dehumanize and disenfranchise women, the disabled, and others who are different from themselves in order to continue the narrative that they are better than, that they are more than. Leaders who are living under an illusion and calling it truth. This is where my mind stops short. For SHIVA is a destroyer of illusions. And how frequently do some of you too, perhaps all of us humans do, fall under that cloud of illusions that we think, we believe, and we act from, that we even call reality. It's not real, it's an illusion. It's an illusion that some of us are more than others or less than others. It's an illusion that money brings happiness. It's an illusion that self-reliance and self-worth are the same thing. It's an illusion that the lack that the mind allows the body to inhabit or to feel or to take on, that's an illusion. For the truth is we are whole, we are perfect, and we are complete. It is a level of consciousness. It's a level of awareness that is so important to the dailiness of life, to the dailiness of having comfort within oneself, the dailiness of having self-love. So I wondered, I have so many questions that have come up about truth and standing in truth and how the world operates around us. And how do I speak truth to power? A better way to say how to speak truth to power is that how do I look at circumstances I find myself in with a new set of eyes so that I am not victim to reacting according to the societal rules? How do I find a way to live freely? There's that word again, free, in the same environment as I had mentioned before, that we're witnessing what I call a transformation or evolution of the world we know, and the name called democracy. I cannot see where that democracy is going. I don't see where it came from. I'd have to look in the books, in the history books, but the changes that are appearing, are they an illusion? Is that what's really going on? The number of fellow human beings who disagree and those who agree with the changes that are going on and calling those changes the truth. Is that a circumstance that I find myself in? It is. It's a circumstance I find myself in. My eyes are clear. I see it. But I am refusing to be a victim to it. My reactions are often not reactions at all, based upon the level of my awareness at that time. I like the comfort and freedom of acting independently about everything and anything that comes my way, in particular in the environment within which I live. I carry SHIVA with me. I stand on SHIVA often. to balance me out. For when I do know the truth that maybe I hadn't been paying attention to, maybe my awareness was somewhere else. But when the truth enters into my body of awareness, I right myself. I am centered again. My eyes are clear. My thoughts are mine and mine alone without influence. And I feel free. I feel free. So the question becomes, when I do that, how do I keep that going? How do I keep my awareness high and keep that feeling of security and freedom alive in me as I face the world that I'm in today, as I face an environment or a circumstance that is not the truth? For circumstances are not the truth. They really are not. So it is, in fact, a protection. How do I protect myself, I suppose, is another way of looking at it. When faced with different beliefs that actually would delete my existence from reality, according to the media reports, that those reports that pound repeatedly and repeatedly upon these keys of what I would call keys of illusion. And through that repetition, or by that repetition alone, beckon society's agreements. No, more than beckons, demands the agreement from the masses. So I'd like to ask a question that I think I'd like to hear from everybody, and perhaps this is a good time to go into breakout rooms. I'd like two questions, I suppose. How do you find a way? How do you protect yourself from the illusions out there? And how what do you do to make sure you stay true to yourself, to the essence of your true self? There's none other. The second question is, what else can be done? What else can be done in this society, one person at a time, to alter the trajectory from the appearance of truth to the reality of truth? What can be done? One at a time. So if we can go into breakout rooms at this point, I think that would be good.
Okay, here we go.
And we can go back to Peggy Cotton. Let's
You're
see,
muted,
where are
Peggy.
you? Oh, there we go.
Thank you. I forgot about that.
Are you going to do more breakout rooms?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank
That's-
you.
That's the one. Yeah. Thank you very much for doing that. I guess, I thought what I was thinking about is I'd like to hear what some of your thoughts were in the breakout rooms. Do we have time for that?
We absolutely have time for that. And most folks who are here this evening know the drill. You can raise your hand. You can raise your hand with your reaction buttons so that we can see that you've got something to say and
Okay.
a question to ask. So please don't be shy. We are here. I see Dr. Judith has her hand up.
All right.
Okay, so I would like to say what Deborah, the gift of listening to her as she was able to talk somewhat, is that one thing that really struck me was that if something is happening, she listens. She does her best to listen without judgment. And if it's something that is striking her in a certain way, then her next thing is to turn it over to God. And it's so simple and so profound at the same time. So I was very glad to hear that from her. I actually said that I do a small thing where I walk down the street. You know, it's just a daily thing, because I think people walk and they have their AirPods in, but if somebody doesn't have an AirPod in, or or even if they do that, I might just wave at them and or just say hello and smile. The best thing about that is that I have worked on it for a long enough time that I do not care whether I get a response or not. I'm only on the giving side, and then it's not up to me that they shall respond to me or not. And the other thing was about I realized a few months ago that I have a challenge with listening. I'm listening, someone is speaking. They're speaking to me, or they're actually they're giving a talk. And I recognize that my mind would sometimes wander. So I'm turning that over to God, and I'm just working on it. Because that's not a goal, to be someone that does not listen, or is unable to listen. So I that's enough. I'm complete.
Well, thank you, Judith. Thank you very much.
I see Reverend Ikea's got her hand up. Unmute yourself.
It's still not, you're still muted. You're not still, oh, there you go.
Sorry, working a little differently. So I just always go, I think I'm still secretly a Hindu. Because what happens is I go back to saying my mantra. So I go back to praying, no matter what. I mean, that's it. I go back to praying. And I don't know if I should share what the other person said, but she said that she was just figuring out to use spiritual tools is the secret. And I'll let her tell more about that, because she had a beautiful way of expressing it. And that's all. I'm complete.
Thank you, Ikea. Thank you, Reverend Ikea.
Alice Knudsen, did I see your hand up? And then Larry.
First, it was an accident, but then it's not. There are no accidents.
Right.
I'm with you, Reverend Ikea. Once a Hindu, always a Hindu. I love Hinduism, but I got in a breakout room with Alice, and we call ourselves Alice Squared.
I know. I know.
And so the one thing that, you know, I've been having some health challenges. So I am so grateful. I am so grateful every day. I am consciously counting my blessings. And literally, I could hardly wait tonight. When I heard you were going to speak tonight, there was no holding me back, right? I took a nap this afternoon so I could be here, right?
I was hoping I'd see you on here. I was going to call you if not.
We have an amazing community. Like there's so much love in this community. And I'm just reminded of what Dorothy says all the time. Be still and know God. So, and the practices, we have these practices that we can use all the time. And so I'm like, just go for it. Just do your best and just be present and use the practices and be present and know God.
Mm.
And we are all friends. We're all one family. We're here to support each other. So that is really great. So I'm complete.
Thank you, Alice.
Larry, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Well, there are two things that I want to comment on. I agree with Peggy's description about the status of the society that we're living in now. And I had done a little looking up on Shiva myself and understanding that Shiva is the destroyer. I was saying, how can we get him down here now? But that's a totally different way of looking at it. But on a serious note, there was a time when I used to scream at the TV when the news was on, and I let myself get so upset that, you know, it was creating a problem for me, obviously not anybody else. But one of the things that struck me when I first came to the First Church of Religious Science years ago was the statement from Gandhi on our billboard as you come in. Be the change you wish to see in the world. And that is basically the way I cope now with all of this stuff that's going on, is I just simply understand that everybody has a right to believe in what they want to believe, certainly spiritually. I never question anyone's spiritual beliefs, but they also don't have a right to impose those on me if I'm not in consort with that. But the best thing I can do as an individual to try and influence society and those people I come in contact with is to just role model the change I want to see in the world. And that's what I try and do in all aspects of my life. And it has helped me a lot in my ability to cope with the stuff that we're dealing with now. So I'm complete now also.
Thank you, Larry.
That was great. Yeah.
Right. I see that Maureen's got her hand up.
Hi, yeah, so I was paired up with Peggy, so it was great. We got to talk a little bit more, but one of the things that I do is I limit my exposure to the news. And I make sure that, you know, I'm exposing myself to things that are for me, because we are easily influenced. And if our mind is what we can change, we definitely need to be aware of what, you know, we're being exposed to. And I really liked how you talked about that as a culture where we're just repeated over and over again, these different expectations or, you know, beliefs or values in the majority of society, and that it becomes just familiar because, you know, just because it becomes familiar, then we're just like, oh yeah, that's normal. And it reminds me of my political science class when I learned about tacit consent, that, you know, depending on the mores of society, the society you're born into, you're basically born into tacitly agreeing to what's going on in your culture, you know, and so by using your own mind, you can help to influence that. And in this instance, I use, you know, spiritual practices. And the other thing I mentioned when I was in with Peggy was the statistic, I don't know it exactly, but that you are the average of the 5 people you are most in contact with. And so to take stock of kind of who and what, I would say, what you're exposing yourself to is, you know, what's going to be feeding
Wow.
your brain. So thank you.
Thank you,
Wow.
Martin. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I so appreciate hearing the feedback. Oh, I have, oh, Dodie. Oh, you're still muted.
I loved your talk, and I'm happy to hear that what I said earlier really does flow into your talk. But today on Dr. Dan, it says, thought is supreme. Preserve a right mental attitude, the attitude of courage, frankness, and good cheer. And I say that because in religious science, we say, what you think about, you bring about. So when we were talking earlier about all the different stuff that's going on, that's so chaotic and so frightening, we have a choice. And to think about Shiva and the strength of the presence, this power of God, it allows us to know we have an energy strength on our own side, that we don't have to just be about what's happening in the physical that seems to be so all-encompassing, so confusing, and so detrimental. So I'm complete.
Thank you, Dodie. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. I also limit my time with exposure to the news, but I do watch some of it because I have learned that I have a desire to know what my enemies are doing, or who the demons are. I need to know a little bit about what's going on. So I do look at that, and then I don't watch, I maybe look at the news maybe once a week, maybe twice. I also found something really important, doing my spiritual practices, as many of you have mentioned tonight, that has really sustained me in more ways than I can even put words to. So I'm really focusing on what more I can do. On occasion, when I'm feeling like that I'm teeter-tottering and I need SHIVA to slip under my feet to realign me again and center me again. And I noticed also that there are times, for instance, I picked up a friend from the airport. She just needed a ride. She said, oh my gosh, I have to get on a call. And I said, oh, sure. So when we get to her house, she pulled up the computer and everything. And she said, oh, are you guys ready for the Dr. Dan call? And it was at Heart and Soul. They do their Dr. Dan call on Monday nights.
Oh,
Yeah. So I got on the call with them. And I was so grateful because I used to be on Dr. Dan, our Dr. Dan. I'm going to start getting possessive now. And the point was, it was so refreshing to remind myself in a whole new way of something that was so familiar and so nurturing with people who I didn't know. And yet they felt like family by the time we closed. So by surrounding myself as Maureen had mentioned, by surrounding myself with people who are speaking the truth is the one thing when I've thought about what more could I do. I just need to remember, as we like to say, that surrounding myself with people who are of like mind is important towards my singular one thing that I can do as one individual in the world to make a difference. And in closing, I did want to mention, I found this very fascinating online, and I thought if we have a moment, I wanted to read the Hindu definition, I suppose, or of warriors, of being a warrior. There, I have 2 pages with it actually, but the Hindu definition says, "I am the root of the blue branched tree of heaven. I am the glory that rests on the horns of the mountains. I am the summit of sanctity. I am the gold in the dross. I am the secret behind the sun. In the grain, its seed, I am the kernel of reality. I am the sharpest point on the knife blade of intelligence."
Whoa.
The Upanishads.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's just so powerful, so moving. I wanted to end on that note and just say thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you. You have made my day.
Thank you,
Thank
Peggy.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Right, everyone, let's give Peggy some love. All our
Thank you.
reactions. Thank you, Peggy. I noticed that there was one hand up, but the hand was removed. Are we okay to move forward with that?
Sure.
Okay.
I think we're.
I will move forward into our announcements for this evening. And again, Peggy, thank you so much for this discussion, for the ability
Beautiful.
to sit with the questions. Each of us has that ability to receive the answers, and such great sharing. I captured some of it. I won't even say most of it in the chat, but you're welcome to look at the chat, maybe save it if you want for later. So let's go ahead into our time of announcements. Thank you, Helene, for operating our PowerPoint this evening. So this coming Sunday, July 23rd, Reverend Sunshine Michelle Coleman will be speaking to the Wise Warrior. Meditation begins at 10 a.m. and the service itself begins at 10:30 a.m. Next Wednesday, we have another new speaker. Crystal Fry will be continuing the discussion on the Wise Warrior. Our meditation begins at 6:30 and the service begins at 7 p.m. and Wednesday night is always on Zoom. Coming up, not this Friday, but next Friday, the Diversity Circle on July 27th will be getting together for a lively, open discussion on all things diverse. So this is a Zoom event hosted by Doug Myers and Sri Devi Ramathan, and it starts at 7 p.m. The link can be found by going to the website under the groups section, and then you'll see the Diversity Circle there. All right, this Sunday, we are doing the Bring a Friend to the Center Sunday. So please introduce yourself to our visitors. Bring some visitors with you. You'll know who the visitors are because they'll be wearing colorful Mardi Gras beads around their necks. So after service, please make sure that you learn all about the center from the people in the courtyards if you're new, and no matter how long you've been there, let's talk about what Oakland Center means to us. So calling all LGBTQ+ and friends. The Oakland Center is going to the Oakland Pride on September 10th. So please contact Sam Ladion, and the address to contact him is samladion@oaklandcsl.org if you're interested in helping out with this event. And as you can see on the slide there, we have a lot to do. We need helpers for transport and loading, decorating the booth, finalizing and executing the booth activities that reflect OCSL's philosophy, spiritual principles, and practices. We need folks to be present for shifts at the booth and practitioners to provide on-site affirmative prayers during the celebration. I think that's fabulous. We're going to have a little section put aside so folks can get that 3-minute miracle, as Dorothy would say. And we also need folks to break down and load out the equipment and the supplies after the event closes. So if you're interested, again, please contact Sam. Next, we have 40% off everything in the bookstore in July. So if you haven't already gone to the bookstore to get some of your early holiday shopping done, I invite you to do that this coming Sunday. There's more books, and that thing that you know you've been looking at in the bookstore for a while, the possibilities are endless. So as always, for information on all that is going on at your Oakland Center, please visit our website, oaklandcsl.org. You can again sign up for our newsletter, the Village News, and remember to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook for special updates and content that you'll only see by liking and subscribing to the Oakland Center. And these beautiful individuals that are on this slide here are the ones that you can reach out to directly anytime for information found at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. So now as we move forward, I invite you to open your awareness to your abundance consciousness. If you can, just think about one grain of sand on a beach. And as you open your awareness, you can see how many little grains are out there. That's the kind of abundance consciousness that I'm talking about, and that we're bringing forward financially for the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. So as you're into that awareness consciousness, I invite you to say this affirmation with us. Joyously, I give with an attitude of abundance, knowing that as I give, I do receive. And so it is. And so there are 5 ways, at least, to give to the center. You can visit the website, click on that donate icon, and that will take you in where you can see that we can donate via credit card. And that could be a one-time or a multiple time continuous, by mail, by Zelle, by text, or by the offering basket at the Sunday service. And if you haven't participated yet in that Sunday service activity, I encourage you to do so. It is quite the thing to walk up and give your donation to the basket and feel the energy in the sanctuary as that's taking place. It's marvelous. So I want to thank so many people this evening. As you may have noticed, this evening is all about the village helping each other. We want to thank Peggy for her talk this evening. I want to thank Alice Herndon for her prayer this evening. And I want to thank Colleen for doing the PowerPoint, and Constance for doing the breakout rooms, and Reverend Sunshine for supporting all of this and giving us this opportunity to come together like this. And I want to thank each and every one of you for participating in this evening. This is more fun than I can tell you. So I'm glad we are all here together. And so now what I'd like to do is turn it over to Reverend Aikya Param to pray us out this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Sally. And I'd like to close us out with a Hindu prayer to a Sanskrit prayer to Lord Shiva to start. Om Namaste Astu Bhagavan Vishveshwaraya Mahadevaya Triambakaya Tripurantakaya Trikalagnikalaya Kalagni Rudraya Neelakantaya Mrityunjayaya Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya Shriman Mahadevaya Namaha. O Lord, may this salutation be unto you who is the Lord of the universe, limitless and effulgent, all-knowing, the one who projects, sustains, and takes back this universe, the one who is timeless and also the destroyer of time, all-pervasive, the conqueror of death, the Lord of all, and the ever-auspicious one who is always a blessing. And I give thanks right here and right now for this wonderful talk by Peggy Cotton and for everybody's attendance and attention to the all-pervasiveness of the auspicious Lord. And please join me by ending this service and anchoring this prayer by saying, and so it is. Amen. So it is.
So it is.
So good, y'all.